Today's lead up is rather exciting. Takes us back to the Flash Friday days of the Tom Leykis show. Standoff after a police chase in Bel Air, Brentwood, Beverly Hills area of California. Cops stopped the woman. She finally stopped, gave them a Flash Friday on Tuesday, as you see. It took 4 hours. It was on Sepulveda right next to the 405, but it didn't block traffic. The 405, I saw it about 8:30 or so, and the traffic on the 405 was running pretty good. But she finally surrendered after the 4-hour ordeal. Here's her getting out of the car as caught by KTLA 5. Let's see if we can roll that video as we go. There she is climbing out of the car or the minivan. They're in Brentwood, Bel Air. Look, they had what, three? I wonder why they got so many SWAT team guys out there and cops. Oh man, what a hell of a story for this terrific, tumultuous Tuesday. You don't get a naked woman pursuit every day. And I don't know, maybe we should bring back Flash Friday from the old Tom Leykis show on that. That would be very interesting. Donald J. Trump is alive. Go check the real Don Steele. You'll see the whole story about that. But with all the rumors going around that Trump was dead, he hadn't been seen since Wednesday, always failing health. Well, they did the Rocket City is in Alabama, and that's what the press conference was in. But Peter Ducey let off the questions from President Donald J. Trump. Here we go.
But about a big viral social media trend over the weekend. How did you find out over the weekend that you were dead? You see that?
No.
People didn't see it for a couple of days. 1.3 million user engagements as of Saturday morning about your demise.
Really? I didn't see that. I have heard it's sort of crazy, but last week I did numerous news conferences, all successful. They went very well, like this is going very well. And then I didn't do any for 2 days, and they said there must be something wrong with him. Biden wouldn't do them for months. You wouldn't see him. And nobody ever said there was ever anything wrong with him. And we know he wasn't in the greatest of shape. No, I heard that. I get.
That was an absolute classic Trump. Biden would go weeks, if not months, without being seen or having a press conference or answering questions. And nobody, well, not nobody, the crass media that we have today, the dumpster fire of mostly media we have today, covered it all up. That's what makes Donald J. greatest
Reports
in the world.
Now, you knew I did an interview that lasted for about an hour and a half with somebody, and everybody saw that was on one of your competitors. I did numerous shows and also did a number of truths, long truths, I think pretty poignant truths. No, I was very active over the weekend. They also knew I went out to visit some people at the club that I own pretty nearby on the Potomac River. And no, I've been very active actually over the weekend. I didn't hear that one. That's pretty serious stuff. Well, it's fake news. It's just it's so fake. That's why the media has so little credibility.
He can't be further from the truth. Most of the media has little to no credibility left. Maybe they'll get it back. We hope so. The whole Breyer decision, district court said Trump can't have any use any military. What he did in California was totally illegal, yada, 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 yada. They forgot one thing. We'll have the Trump clip here in a second. But Bill Asaley, our U.S. Attorney for Central and Southern California, says the military will remain here. It's a false narrative misleading. The military has never engaged in direct law enforcement operations in LA. They protect our federal employees, our properties, so our federal agents can safely enforce federal laws in the face of thugs being unleashed and encouraged by state and local politicians. Asaley, again, setting the record straight, not buying into the CNN headline. Judge says the administration's use of U.S. military in Los Angeles violated federal law. Well, let's see. Mr. Trump got an hour-long press conference with somebody supposed to be dead, dying, failing health. Had this to say.
Today, in California, ruled that the deployment of National Guard troops to Los Angeles was illegal. Do you have any response?
Well, it was a radical left judge, but very importantly, what did you not tell me in that question or statement that you made pretty much of a statement, I think?
Well, I was asking for the response.
No, you didn't say what the judge said, though. The judge said, but you can leave the 300 people that you already have in place. They can continue to be in place. That's all we need. But why didn't you put that as part of your statement? Because the same judge ruled exactly as you said, except the judge said that you could leave the 300 people that you already have in place. They can stay, they can remain, they can do what they have to do.
So this is how convoluted Breyer, who's the brother of the former Supreme Court Justice Stephen Breyer, up in San Fran, known as very left-wing liberal activist judges. How can if it's illegal for Trump to put the troops in there, why are the 300 allowed to stay that are still there? Hopefully the Court of Appeals I wish the Supreme Court would come in on this, so it puts it to bed for the whole enchilada. Now, this is a good one. Tow truck driver accused of illegally towing government car during ICE raid was arrested by Bill Asaley's crew and charged. Yeah, he was going to be a tough guy. Allegedly, he backs up. They're doing ICE raids. He backs up to a government car and tows it off. Now he's facing federal charges. Got to throw this in because this was great. When you accidentally let the government raise your kids, they say pictures worth 1,000 words. One of the great things and the press conference was called for the Space Force headquarters, which were supposed to be in Alabama. Joe Biden moved them to Colorado because they've been almost as kooky left-wing as California. Now they moved them back. On top of the military and everybody said that was the best place for it, Trump explained why the move was made.
In my first term, I created a thing called Space Force, so important. You know, we were losing the race in space very badly to China and to Russia. And now we're far and away #1 in space, and reestablished Space-Com with a mission to protect American space assets and detect any threat to our homeland. We initially selected Huntsville for the Space-Com headquarters, yet those plans were wrongfully obstructed by the Biden administration. And as you know, they moved them to a different locale. And today we're moving forward with what we want to do and the place that we want to have this. And this will be there for hopefully hundreds of years. That's where it's going to be. I will say I want to thank Colorado. The problem I have with Colorado, one of the big problems, they do mail-in voting. They went to all mail-in voting. So they have automatically crooked elections. And we can't have that. When a state is for mail-in voting, that means they want dishonest elections because that's what that means. So that played a big factor also. In Huntsville space,
You gotta love Trump. Yeah, you're gonna have illegal voting or you people crooked fixed elections, then we're gonna boot. You know what? And it was supposed to be there anyway. The military, everybody said the best place for this rocket center is Huntsville, Alabama. Biden tried moving it to Colorado for political payoffs. Trump got it back and said one of the main reasons why. We're going to get into this a little bit later on, but the whole reversal, Chicago and all this, or is Trump going to send troops in? And he clarified that. At least 53 shots, 7 fatal, 8 in Labor Day weekend gun violence across Chicago. And Fat Boy Pritzker says, oh, everything's safe here. Shut up. Breaking news. The House Oversight Committee just released more than 30,000 pages of the Epstien files provided by the Department of Justice. So we got another big document dump. Trump put out 11 lessons for success. We'll run through those here a little later on in the show. Cartels lose more than $1 billion amid Trump administration's crackdown. Trump did this. Cartels lose more than $1 billion amid Trump administration's crackdown. Fixes DC in a week. Have the cartels on the run. Today, Sophia Lowry, Jennifer might have done it too, in James Day Middle School in Temecula, girls are staging a walkout saying we don't want boys in our locker rooms. This isn't anti-anyone, as the Lowry post says. It's pro-girls, pro-safety, pro-common sense. If you're nearby, stand with them. So we'll see how the walkout went. Hopefully we'll have a bigger report on that on tomorrow's show. Always remember this. Vote no on Prop 50. Gavin Newsom's gerrymander, who he said was evil, so vote for my gerrymander, which explains why Gavin Newsom is evil. Beyond repair. Exactly. Buckle in, we're going to get into more details on everything for the rest of the hour. He's also FUBAR, and I bet most people are familiar with what that particular phrase means, effed up beyond repair, all repair. Notice how Newsom hasn't been on the news much. His whole, just the redistricting, and we might get on this later in the week, John Flashman, formerly a Flash Report, now he's got a different deal. I don't know, maybe he sold that or something. Charles Munger Jr., and if that Munger name sounds kind of familiar, you probably heard of Warren Buffett, the Oracle of Omaha, Nebraska. But you probably got Actually, I think Warren Buffett and Charles Munger Sr., she might have recently passed away, but I don't know. Don't quote me on that. They had the most cash. I mean, liquid cash they could grab their hands on. Elon Musk or whomever, most of theirs is tied to their SpaceX or Tesla stock, yada, 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 which is a phony number anyway. That's if you sold it all a day, which if they did, it would crash the whole thing. But actually, rich guys, Charles Munger Jr. is his son. He's been very successful as a scientist, tech guy up in San Francisco. He put 20 million in the know for Prop 50. Gerrymandering's evil, so Gavin Newsom's going to gerrymander California's congressional seats even more than they are. The teachers' unions, the teachers, the public employees have only kicked in and Newsom himself about 2 million from his recall campaign, only kicked in about 5 million so far. So the no on Prop 50 is already about 4-1 ahead in dollars. Now we'll see how much. Newsom doesn't look like he's shaking the money tree, because there was another poll that Flashman had quoted, same thing. If you frame it on, you want to get just the Trump derangement syndrome on. Prop 50 barely passes with over 50%. If you actually tell them it's a gerrymander, it gets defeated 2-1. So if the no committee has any coherent campaign, which they should at this time, nothing's a slam dunk guarantee until all the votes are counted and the elections are certified. Newsom's going to have a big climb in pulling off the Prop 50. Notice how none of the other politicians they voted to pass it, the Democrats did up in the legislature. But notice how they're not out front standing with Newsom on this one, because they basically know this thing's going to backfire. And they don't want to be the ones when the elections come up with 26 or 28 to have that noose hanging over their political heads. So we got that little vignette. That'll be November 4th, I believe, whatever the first Tuesday is, when we'll have that special election. And it can't come, as they say, soon enough. I want to highlight a little bit more on this. I had it on the pre-promo, but when you accidentally let the government raise your kids. First, you had a normal looking boy. Then it's okay to have purple hair. Well then now Jesse wants to become Juanita with the full lipstick, dresses, the whole 9 yards. This is the problem with government schools and government getting into anything. Royism 101. No matter how well intentioned government programs are, 98.7% of them wind up in graft, corruption, and failure. And this whole thing here, and it always starts out with the emotional pull. It's okay that Johnny wants to dye his hair purple. Then you wind up with the situation we've got now. And we'll get an update hopefully tomorrow or Thursday. Here's another one. We added the James Day Middle School in Temecula. Young girls, the girls there said we've had enough. That's a junior high. When they call it middle schools. Protect Our Girls walkout today at 7:45 a.m. Our girls deserve safety, respect, and dignity. Having boundaries is not a mental health condition, and it should never be treated as one. Boundaries are healthy and necessary part of growing up. They should be celebrated, not shamed. Schools should be protecting our children, not putting them in the middle of political ideologies. Every girl has a right to decide who she feels comfortable around, especially when it comes to something as private as undressing. No adult school policy should ever force a girl to ignore her instincts or do something that makes her uncomfortable. Our girls are precious. They should not be pressured into silence or made to feel guilty for protecting themselves. This state is wrong for putting them in a place of shame instead of honoring their right to privacy and choice. We are calling on parents, students, community members to stand together. Join us in protecting these policies. We will be calling on all parents and students in a walkout Tuesday, this morning, September 2nd, 7:45 a.m., James Day Middle School in Temecula. This is going to have to happen. Should happen at every junior high and high school. It's just like we talked about in the previous thing about the sports thing. This is not going to change until students, parents, community members stand up. Just like with the sports, like with the volleyball thing. Okay. A.B. Hernandez, you want to play in the girls' team at Hoover Valley High? We have Poly High, Rim of the World, Orange, or wherever the hell. Okay, we got the boys' team. The boys, they just identify as girls. Let's get after it. If we don't fight fire with fire, we're going to lose it all. Plain and simple. It's as simple as getting up in the morning. Why we're not at the point that we even let this get to where it is today, my contention has always been men, by and large, at a majority, quit being men. And they need to start standing back up. Saying, you know what, we're just not doing stupid today. Who knows? We'll maybe figure this stuff out. Hopefully sooner than later, so we don't have to deal with this kind of nonsense. Because it's been going on far too long in our society. And again, we got to get back to normal existence of a sane and stable society. More walkouts like the girls at
Got about 30 seconds, Roy.
James Day and Temecula, more smart policies, and a president who shows up like Donald J.
I
And all
cut I cut
together.
out I cut out the outro from another show, so at the end of the show just say wrap it, okay? And then I'm gonna play that.
You got it.
All right, here we go, 10 seconds.
If we can figure this out. PatriotSwitch.com.
IE Newswire Daily is on the air.
We are.
The following is a paid program. Views and claims expressed are those of the program producer and are not endorsed by this station. Opinions expressed are not necessarily those of radio station KMET, its management, employees, or affiliates.
There's that funky slide guitar music that comes in every Monday through Friday, live at 5:30 on the Mighty Met 1490 AM. Join our vast video audience, EWP Network, Rumble, X, YouTube. Check us out on the Roy Bleckert channel. And I see I was playing a little bit of that. One of the things is a new intro that's coming on is playing faster than it did before. And one thing is we'll adjust that a little bit. Hopefully we'll work the intro out. We got a new one on that, so maybe we'll get that. We'll get these technical jargon straightened out here. Well, probably the 12th and ever. You always get 5,432 of them. You got to go back and check. Go to iNewsWire on all the platforms that we said. They're on Sepulveda Boulevard, right by the 405, in the Bel Air, Brentwood area. You don't see naked women pursuits much. There she is giving a Flash Friday on Tuesday in the west side of LA to the cops. The chase didn't take long, but it was almost 4 hours. And if you want to see Flash Friday, go back to the Tom Likas show. You used to do the drive-bys, drive time, this time a day. A couple decades ago, but he had Flash Friday. Go Google that, or not Google, DuckDuckGo or something other in the search engine. But check out Flash Fridays. Maybe we'll bring back. Maybe we need to bring back that tradition from the Likas show. But anyway, we had a roll of that today. Donald Trump is alive. We'll have to run the real Don Steele. That goes back even further. Teresa Delgado is alive. Nobody ever knew. He never did say what that was about. He was like one of the hottest DJs back in the 60s or 70s on Boss Radio 93. But anyway, Trump came out. He is alive. Hour-long press conference today. We went through that. We went through some of it. But I want to get to the point that Trump, we just ran through it and we'll run through it a little bit, but the junior high school girls be 24/7, 365. at James Day Middle School. But it's absolutely stunning. It's absolutely stunning. The ridiculous crap we have to go through. I mean, we're at a point where it's so silly and mischievous that girls finally had to say, we've had enough and we're out of here. We're walking out. When's the last time you seen a school walk out? Well, they locked them out on the COVID so they couldn't walk out and protest. Probably a lot of the reason why. But it's one of the greatest mysteries in life of how human behavior takes these ebbs and flows. Here's another one. The whole Chicago and throwing the National Guard in. And again, I understand it. We don't want our military, or we don't want a federal police force. But at some point, we cannot let people just be slaughtered in the streets. Over this weekend, 7 fatalities, 53 shot in Chicago. We've all had the controversy about, is Trump going to go in? He said he is. Well, he reiterated. We're going to have that in a second. But again, ever since Trump got elected and Morning Joe and Mika went down to kiss the ring of Donald J., Joe Scarborough, former congressman, rear end kisser, told us Joe Biden was the sharpest attack while he was as president and the whole rigmarole. This is him this morning agreeing with Trump, basically telling Fatboy Pritzker, your state, especially in your city, Chicago, are a hellhole.
Concern is you have leaders in Chicago that see this, as you say. We've been reading about this for years now, every weekend, and maybe crime has gone down. But, you know, we had the mayor of Chicago on last week saying, oh, we don't need any more police officers. Police officers aren't the answer. No police officers. You know, I think he said no 5 times. You look what's happening this weekend. You look so, you know, I actually think that J.B. Pritzker should do something radical. I think he should pick up the phone, call the president, and say, you know and I know you don't have the constitutional authority to deploy the National Guard here and to police my. You can do that in D.C. You can't do that in Chicago. But let's partner up. These are the most dangerous parts of my state. We would love to figure out how to have a partnership that's constitutional, that respects the sort of balance of federalism between the federal government and the state government. And let's work together to save lives. Because right now, just hey, nothing to see here moving along.
I love the reaction of Mika. It's like you're not saying, you're not coming up with Trump derangement system. Trump is evil. She wants to say that, but she knows what her husband, Joe, is saying is the absolute truth. She's caught between psycho chick and reality.
No problem here. Hey, Donald Trump, we don't need you. And, the mayor talking about we're going to protect people's dignity in our city. We'll protect their lives. That's protecting their dignity. It would be radical for us to figure out a way to actually do what I've been saying from the very beginning on Washington, and that is seeing politicians creating partnerships that protect their people. Yeah.
Got to run this part again.
J.B. Pritzker should do something radical. Protect people's dignity in our city. We'll protect their lives. That's protecting their dignity.
Protecting lives is protecting your dignity. He's telling fat boy, governor, ultra billionaire, hotel magnate, J.B. Pritzker, work with Trump. Your city, Chicago, is a hellhole. How many Chicago residents have called for this? Went to their city council, I think they call them aldermen, their city government meetings and said, hey, fix this crap. We're done with it. Murder in the streets, drugs, vagrants, illegals, invading our territory. Now Joe Scarborough, one of the head drum beaters of Trump derangement syndrome, is telling Fat Boy Pritzker to go work with Trump. We're taking those yo-yos. We're 10,000% trying to do this, trying to mislead you, tell you Joe Biden, Scarborough was the worst. Oh, Joe Biden, right up in just before the election, or just before Biden dropped out, Joe Biden, sharpest attack. Outworking everybody. Trump gets up at 4 a.m. Hell, Joe Biden went to bed at 1:30 and up at 2 o'clock in the morning. That's 1:30 in the morning and up at 2 o'clock. Barely a half hour sleep. Now it's a 180. Well, that Trump guy might have had a point. Wait, here's Trump who got asked this question at the presser.
I up on Chicago though.
Well, we're going in. I didn't say when. We're going in. When you lose, look, I have an obligation. This isn't a political thing. I have an obligation. When we lose, when 20 people are killed over the last 2.5 weeks, and 75 are shot with bullets. So let me tell you a little story about a place called D.C., District of Columbia, right here where we are. It's now a safe zone. We have no crime. It's in such great shape. You can go and actually walk with your children, your wife, your husband. You can walk right down the middle of the street. You're not going to be shot, Peter. You're safe. Everyone likes you anyway. They probably wouldn't do it.
In a week, 2 weeks or 3 weeks, crime basically gone. The cartels are out, the drug dealers, the gangs. Ooh, you mean the cops are actually going to shoot back at us? Instead of, and it wasn't their fault. The mayor and the council or whatever are there. Said, hey, back off. You're not supposed to enforce the law. You're not supposed to enforce public safety in D.C. This is almost beyond the pale.
Strong, physically fit, something, having a certain ability, not a person that is woke and got the job through woke, but wasn't strong enough to lift a gun out of the holster, et cetera, et cetera. No, I looked at the
CJD Vance crack up on that. No, he said, we're getting big, strong guys of the retarded half the population going in there and cleaning it up. Again, men got to start acting like men. That's what Trump is doing. Remember when Trump said, I will protect you? This is what he was talking about.
but Chicago is certainly going to be high. I would love to have him call. I would love the governor of Illinois. I'd be honored to take his call. All he has to do is say, sir, we need help. It's out of control. And everyone knows it is. He's not kidding anyone. I would love to have, I would say, Governor Moore call, because I watched him over the weekend trying.
Governor Moore's of Baltimore, another city out of control, Los Angeles. He said, Fat Boy Pritzker or Johnson, the mayor of Chicago, Moore, Buffoon Bass, Gavin Newsom, California. The list goes on. Colorado. Remember when they told us in Boulder City, oh, the MS or Transgender Agro or whatever MS-13 gangs are not taking over the city. Well, that was a lie. They were telling the cops to back off and letting them run everything. One councilwoman was saying it, and they were trying to frame her, discredit her, do everything they could to run her out of town. This is what we need to do. $5,192%. We need a president. We don't have time to get to him today. He just put out 11 life lessons for young Americans. But I'll give you a preview of the first one. Think of yourself as a winner. Have that confidence in yourself. Don't back up. Don't back down. Don't give up when you know you're right. We had our Mimi on IE Newswire yesterday of George Carlin. Well, don't just teach them to read. Teach them to question what they read. Teach them to question what they hear. Now, Scarborough needs to come out and explain why he was a lying piece of S. Whether, hey, I'm getting paid, me and the old broad over here getting paid millions of dollars to spew lies, and getting paid from us through the government to them. And the networks and everything else were profiting from this. Why do you think Democrats all over the board are not raising the kind of cash they have in the past 10, 20, 30 years? Is it a coincidence that we're cutting out all this U.S. aid and foreign aid and all this other stuff, and Doge came in and Trump's in and they're getting rid of a lot of this stuff? Have gotten rid of a lot of it. They have a long ways more to go. But we're at a point where we're either going to, again, like I said, we're in the first minute of the first quarter of the game. The other side was on offense. They took the ball, but they fumbled it. We now got the ball, those of us from the center right, freedom and liberty types. We got the ball. We're now on offense. And the only way you can win the game, whether it's in business, whether it's in politics, whether you're playing marbles and the kids in the playground. I don't know, do they even still do that? Most of all, you want to be a winner at life. You got to have that steel determination that I'm not backing up, backing down for any reason. I'm not going to let them fill my head with a bunch of crap. Oh, just trust the science. Hey, there is science. Science can change in the nanosecond. Science is just our best, supposed to be our best guess of what's going on at the time, based on what we know. Not using it as a propaganda lie tool. We had Trump coming out with the tweet yesterday, really putting the sights on the whole COVID con. Remember, that started in the last part of his administration, and well, almost a little less the last 10, well, almost a year. But now we're to the point, and then Biden thoroughly made a disaster of it. But I will submit to you, you should listen to those that were deemed the unclean, that were tossed off, ignored, silenced by whatever means, mainly from our United States of America government, in full violation of our natural and constitutional rights. Maybe we should listen more to those who stood for those principles and stood for the truth and did not try to BS you and just said those three words, can you prove it? Evidence, please, sir. That's all we ask. They never could produce it. That's what Trump asked yesterday of Moderna, Pfizer, Johnson and Johnson. You're telling me all this stuff. You've been blowing smoke up my skirt. Or are you blowing smoke up my skirt? Because if what you say is true, and you save millions, you save the human society race, the human beings, you should be running 24/7, 365 on this. It's a... hopefully we'll get this stuff done, get her turned around. Not as much today on the local. Well, the weekend. Monday's always hectic because you got all the 3 days worth of stuff. But we'll run through what we have today. And again, press enterprise is not transient. Vagrant who killed Riverside woman who was walking her dogs is sentenced to 15 years. Darlene Montoya, 28, pleaded guilty to second-degree murder in the death of 64-year-old Che Meng. It's a picture of Che. One of the crown jewels up in San Bernardino County, up there just above on your above Barstow. Takes a little over an hour from here, the IE, or if you're down here in the central IE area. One of the crown jewels, if you haven't been to Calico Ghost Town, my strong recommendation is go. Before COVID, it was only $10 to get in there. I'm sure it's probably a little higher now. Besides being one of the greatest bargains, one of the best entertainment for the dollars, I gotta say, San Bernardino County got that one right. It's the 1.3% where government works. If you ever want to see how the miners did stuff back in the day, want to pan for gold, of course, they have bluegrass days around Mother's Day. Barkaday birthday for Canine Keva at Rancho Cucamonga. See, I can't even say that. Happy birthday, Keva. Volunteers needed for the City Corona Police Academy. There's our meme of the day. Cult mentality of the 70s. Drink the Kool-Aid. Don't question it. It's God's will. Cult mentality in the 2020s. Take the shot. Don't question it. It's a science. That's what we've been talking about. Of course, we had that judge case of that. Major crash in the I-10 Oak Valley and San Gregorio Pass. Of that. Smoked her all in. Got to head to the Moreno Valley City Zoo, otherwise known as the City Council, for the council meeting here right after we get to the show. To pick one, just do one day a month and go to one public meeting, even if you don't comment. That's a wrap for today. That'll do it for today. But as we usually say,
All right, Roy.
that seemed to work better.
Did you know your Zoom froze up there?
Yeah, I did. I saw it went off there. It kicked me off of Facebook and Twitter, but it kept me YouTube and Rumble kept on. I don't know. This seems to be happening a lot on the Zoom. I don't know. I'm looking at some different ways to get it in. Obviously, simplify it where I don't have to go through Zoom and XSplit. Just have one program that gets it from me to you. And maybe that will, I don't know, maybe Zoom's just getting too much activity or something, but this has been happening, starting to get like Skype again. You know, the party couldn't last too long, I don't think.
Might have to go to something different, like
That's what I'm looking at.
StreamYard
or something like that, yeah. If I can do it where it's simpler or something on that, I'm looking at seeing if they're going to be a simpler system to work on, and hopefully I'm going to change it over.
StreamYard's a browser-based thing, so you'd log into the browser, you know, like the whatever you're using, and use it through there. So we shall see. There's a couple other ones. I'll try to get some names for you and see how.
Yeah,
they
if you
work.
got anything that you know that can do this, because I'm thinking Zoom's probably getting too big, or maybe maybe they're just having problems too. But this is about the third or fourth time this happened this month.
Well, with your setup, it might work better with something else. You know what I mean? So
right. That's why I say maybe it's time to change that out.
So anyway, we'll give it a try or whatever in the near future, and we'll see what happens.
You got it.
All right,
That's all we
take
can
it
do.
easy. Bye
Got it.
now.